I'm just doing the climb up Moriata. So I just climb up the side of the trail pretty much the whole way up. And got the Ransom. Did a couple of runs last night. And I'm out here now. This will be my first run. So just a couple of little, I guess, comments, opinions on the spec. So it's the Ransom 920, or just the Ransom 20. It was actually a 720 when he bought it, but the shop was good enough to swap it over to a 29er for him. So it's basically the 920 Syncross wheels. The engagement in this back wheel is terrible. Like I'd say it's probably 18 points of engagement, and it's very sloppy. And as soon as you get in the rough stuff, you just feel it. And it sounds like something's tinging on the bike constantly. So pretty sure it's the engagement that's creating that feedback through the pedals and whatnot. The forks, I felt alright. I'm running at 70. I've just put a token in it to give me a bit more support, because they're fairly divey, and I'm assuming it's just the same issue with the assembly process. Bit of extra grease to keep the longevity, but it needs that negative spring needs a clean out for performance for sure. So it's just a grip damper fork. So no adjustment, just rebound and air and tokens. Rear shock is the Fox Nude. So this bike needs to run at 34-35% sag for it to feel good. I started at 30 yesterday and it was just beating me up. It was choppy, no compliance. Let's just jump this fence here. No compliance, and yeah, it just wasn't great. So I'm down to the second run I did last night. I did at 150 psi in the rear. Now I'm at 145 psi, just to see. I didn't bottom out yesterday, but it was much smoother at that 150 versus the 170 that I started with. So let's get rolling again here. The dropper post, you push it up and it comes to within 20 mil of its top, but it won't go further than that until you sit on it and then get off it again. So it's a bit sticky there. I pulled the collar off, put a bit of slick honey in there. Hasn't really changed it much yet, but I'm sure that'll loosen up with time. It's just new. So that's a Syncross dropper. Handlebars feel alright. It turns in nice, but just the bike in general turns in nicely. The grips are rubbish, the Syncross grips. They're like, with gloves on it's okay, but bare hands, as soon as you get a little bit of sweat, feels like you're holding on to 2 wet bars of soap. So not ideal. I'll just grab a gear here, getting steep. Yeah. The brakes, which is the Shimano, it's their bottom of the line 4-piston caliper. Shimano, just kind of entry-level stuff. They feel alright at lower speeds. They feel real good at lower speed, but slowing down, like when you're entering something at reasonable speed, it's like they don't come on until it slows down a bit. So whether you need a better quality disc or a better quality lever, not too sure, but they definitely don't feel very good. So just a bit of damage control. You got to brake a little bit earlier, know what you're getting yourself into. So this thing's got 2.6 inch Minion DHF 3C Exo Plus front and back, so big old tyres. I'm running them at 27 and 25 at the moment, just because I don't want to dent these rims. Not my bike, obviously. So I might play with the pressure a little bit, but we'll see as we go on. So gonna keep chugging. Oh, NX group set. The rear derailleur feels alright. Yeah, it does feel a bit cheap, but it's working flawlessly. I adjusted the B limit screw a bit, just used the SRAM indicator to adjust that because it was having trouble dropping down off the first gear into the second, third, whatever. So I've adjusted that and feels killer now. The cranks, I guess they feel kind of stiff. Not too sure, they're the NX, but damn, they're long. They're 175s. This thing's got a really high bottom bracket, so it doesn't affect you that much in clearance, but it's definitely affecting me in the pedaling and climbing. Like when you stand up to climb, long cranks suck. Sitting down, it's alright, you just kind of mash along. But, and trying to get on the gas because I'm used to shorter cranks, feels pretty. I'm quite cautious putting the power down. So anyway, I've got a real steep bit at the end of this hill to climb. I'll get out of the way, do a run, and then we'll talk about performance, first impressions. So I was lucky enough to run into a couple of friends that were pumping out some shuttles at Moriata. So I think I got 3 good runs in. So I did a GoPro at the end as well. Now, the noise and the rattle that I thought was coming from that engagement of the hub, I think it's a combination of the engagement and this NX rear derailleur has a lot of slap in it. It doesn't feel like it's got much of a clutch in there. So I was asked the other day about what I think about the NX versus the GX, and I kind of gave some vague, just my thoughts, but I couldn't be super precise on what I felt about it. But now that I've ridden on this NX, shifting and whatnot is great, it's fine. A little bit sloppy in the lever, but like, it just feels a little cheaper, but it still works well, still does the job. But there's really doesn't feel like there's much clutch in that rear derailleur, especially for a new derailleur. It's got a lot of slap, so if you can afford it, get a GX derailleur for sure. There'll be a lot less slap there. If you really want to go up there, go an XO or change to Shimano. The Shimano clutches are flawless. I definitely prefer the silence of a Shimano back end to the SRAM back end, but the GX will do the job. NX too sloppy, just for me too sloppy. Setup, so I'm at 75 in the fork with a token, 145 in the rear with it, as it's come standard. Didn't bottom it out, getting quite close to bottom out, but feels great, smooth. Gets a little bit choppy, a little bit overwhelmed in the rougher stuff. I'm not sure if that's partially to do with not having great brakes and having to kind of brake a little bit differently to how I usually would. Hard to say yet, it's still early days, but maybe I can alter my setup a little bit more and see what's going on with that back end. Obviously I'm going to play with it a bit more. The forks feel pretty good as they are. Could do with a service, but that's no biggie. I'll work around that. The seat's not comfortable. The dropper, it does this thing where it'll shoot up. Oh, that wasn't too bad. Maybe it's getting better. Yeah, it's starting to loosen up. Where at first it'd come up to maybe 20 mil below it, which I mentioned anyway. That's starting to wear in, so that's good. Climbing this thing in open kind of sucks. It's a bit of a pig. Once you hit the lever, put it in just so the rear shock is in that first stage of lockout. It's a much better, much more pleasant bike to climb. The brakes, like I said, not a fan of the brakes. I can't get on them and have confidence. I've got to brake early, wash off that first bit of speed, and then they're good. Once you get into the lower speed, they definitely feel good. The turn-in feels really nice. It's relatively playful and relatively nimble. Still big, 29er. I wouldn't feel as confident charging it into rough corners. Nowhere near as confident as if I had a 27 wheel at the back. But I do like the way the front wheel tracks. I've said that before. Don't really have too much more to say about it yet. The wheels feel okay. I thought they were going to feel more flexy, but it's all good. We had a look at the spoke tension. the other day, and there's not much you can do with it. It's a 28 hole hub, so 28 spoke wheels. You're not going to get them any stiffer without really, you know, starting to wind the tension into the danger zone. So it is what it is with the wheels. The tyres are quite good, 2.6s. I'm just running them now. I've got them at 24 in the front, 26 in the back. Felt pretty good. Didn't feel choppy. They're not squirming or anything like that. So yeah, to me, you know, so far so good. It's not too bad. It's definitely not a trail bike. It is definitely not a trail bike. It's a bike that you'd buy if you lived in the hills and were just punching descents all day. It'll get you around, but I think there's better options. So if I was to just go back to back with the Slash, and I know it's still early days, but if I was looking back to back against the Trek Slash 8, the 8 that I rode, even though it's just got the Yarry at the front with the Debonair, that bike charged. That was a very, very fast 2019 Duro bike. So it's got the edge on this thing for now, but I'll keep playing with it, see how fast I can get it, and yeah, I'll keep you updated.